Thank you for coming to publish my book. Did you see the seminar in the chat, or did you see it in your email?
I did see it in the email.
Okay, okay, okay. So, publish my book basically discusses commercial publishing, mid-sized presses, and small presses, and compares that to self uh, publishing. And now, can you introduce yourself to the audience? And I know you are a new author, one of our authors, Meredith Etc. And tell us something about uh, your aspirations as an author.
You kind of broke up at the end, but I did hear introduce myself. I am Melisha Smith, first time author of the Miss Meredith Publishing. I'm I don't know how much you wanted to do a career background or
Just a
just
brief
do
about
well
being an
about
author.
the book. Oh, this was my first time being an author, and I didn't know I didn't know the field, but I have to say that you, Miss Meredith, really taught me a lot about publishing and the process that it takes to get from a written word until a published book. And I appreciate that too, Miss Meredith.
Oh, well, thank you. And I appreciate you joining our community, because in our community, we're not just authors in the company. We actually support one another as artists. Authors are artists. Okay, so basically, normally when someone has a manuscript, they start with an idea. But also, when you're trying to get your book published, sometimes you may have to change your style, the style of your manuscript. Like for instance, this is actual manuscript that we are typing. When I first got my uh, first book commercially published, I had to convert it from APA to Chicago, which was really a pain. When you do a nonfiction book and you have to convert it from APA to Chicago, Chicago requires that you do a list of notes, which would be the author, the publisher, the name of the book, and the exact page where you get your source. Say, for instance, if you said the source said that there were 30,000 people that attended a meeting, then you would have to list the page. And also, I wanted to mention the Big Five publishers. Random House, Hatchet, HarperCollins, Simon and Schuster, and Macmillan. You can see that Kendrick was established in 1927, Hatchet 1837, inspired by time in 68, Harper 1817, Simon and Schuster 1944, Macmillan 1843. Now, to get a book commercially published, usually you need an agent, and an agent will help you uh, do your book proposal. Because with commercial publishers, and also one of them that I just mentioned, I looked up yesterday, they have like 10,000 employees. That's really big, compared to a mid-sized press may have uh, 5 employees all the way up to dozens of employees. And a small company, which you chose, um, Malaysia, like Meredith Etc is a small press that does less than 5 titles a year. And we've been in business 7 years and we've done 25 titles, which is about 4 titles a year. And the main uh, common denominator between a commercial publisher, a mid-size, and small press is having an acquisition editor that will work with the author to get the manuscript ready for publication. And also, of course, I wanted to just, do you remember Sister Soldier? She was a famous rapper in the.
I heard of her books. I haven't read any of them, but my friend told me about them. But I watched her speak though.
Oh wow, she's a powerful.
On her political views. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this is one of her books, um, Midnight, and it's a gangster love story. Now, she was published with Simon and Schuster. Now, this particular book is a paperback. I paid $8 for it at a local Barnes and Noble, and this is one of our titles, historic fiction, and it's about 316 pages. And of course, you have John Grisham, who is the best-selling author in the world. Now, this is I don't I think I bought this in the 90s. I think he only at that time had 5 books uh, published. Uh, Toni Morrison, one of my favorites. She's one of the black authors that obtained the Pulitzer Prize. Now, this is an autograph edition of A Mercy, and I looked online, and this particular book, autographed by the author, which is the first edition, first print, is it sells now for about $150. And I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people don't realize that print books have value, especially if it's autographed by the author. And also, um, this is a copy of Gone with the Wind. I found this in Florida, and it was originally done 1936. And this is the 1964 edition. You see how different that looks? This was actually a library edition of the book, 1964. But it's not autographed, but an autographed copy of this book, in which you consider mint edition, which is like new, no writings on the pages, and pretty clean, is worth anywhere from over $5,000 to $25,000 by a book collector. So I just definitely wanted to mention that. Also, I wanted to talk about when you submit a manuscript and you're trying to publish it, um, you would do a query letter, which would tell the acquisition editor what you have written, whether it's a novel, how many pages you have, how many chapters you have, and then the publisher will ask you, sometimes give them one sample chapter, or 2 sample chapters, or if it's important, it might say give me 25 poems, and then so that the acquisition editor will see something about, yeah, and also the book proposal. Uh, this is a outline for a book. It will give the overview, maybe 500 words, the target audience, a, a paragraph or so about the author. Uh, you would list the competitive titles, how you plan to market and promote it. If you already have any blurbs, talk list the blurbs. Uh, you would list your media speaking appearances. Um, and sometimes a book proposal, it ranges. It could be 6 pages. It could be um, 15 pages. And then I want to talk about self-publishing. With in 2003, there were about 300,000 self-publishing, and move up to today's date. Compare that to 1.6 million. So marketing and promoting is very important when you once you get published, because you have a lot of more competition. And so this is what you call vanity presses. That's your used to be called Publish America, but they changed the name, I think, down to Publish Atlantic. And it started off American Star Books. Then you have Author House. I know a lot of people, 10 years ago who used Author House. Then you have Doris Publishing, which is, I think, one of the oldest subsidy publishers. Then you have our universe. My mother used our universe, and a couple of my friends, maybe 10 years or so. So the big difference between commercial publishing, a small press, and sometimes there will be your university presses, and then a small press is that the even commercial publishers charge some fees in the contract to publish a book. For instance, when I had my book commercially published, which is a nonfiction book, my contract required me to bill me $100 for the index, which is at the back of a nonfiction book, and also I was required to buy historical pictures. Which you buy a historical photograph from a photographer or their estate from 6 years ago, you could pay $600-700 per use or more, $1,000 to use that historical picture. And also, sometimes you can find historical pictures from the Library of Congress catalog by searching their catalog. And places like George Publishing, the author pays the full cost to publish. They pay the cost of having the book edited by the acquisition editor, which could run into the thousands, and which is the difference between commercial publishing and having any acquisition editor. You don't bear the complete cost of publishing. And I want to mention this. Over the years, the book industry has remained a massive, greatly influential global consumer market. 675 million print books were sold. I think that was last year, including ebooks and audio books. And these are the best-selling books from last year. Have you read any of these, Malaysia? Where the Crawdad sings Becoming Michelle Obama, Educated a Memoir.
No, I did want to watch Becoming though. I mean, Becoming.
You read that
Dogman.
one?
Oh, Dogman is a cartoon. Oh, man, not a
Uh-huh. It
cartoon.
was, and it was a bestseller. And then Crawdad, where the Crawdad sings, sold 7 million copies worldwide. Uh, so far this year, that's a lot.
Right.
Have a list of Black Lives Matter books. And so also here in the book industry, you have textbooks, adult books, children books, young adult, professional uh, books. Now, Meredith Etc. has 4 books that are in the textbook market. We have James Meredith Warrior, which is a biography I wrote. And it was originally commercially published in 2013. And then I acquired the right Meredith and published it with Meredith Etc. in 2018. And I added 50 more pages. And also I added more historical photographs because when it was commercially published, they only allowed me to use 6 photographs. But I have over a dozen photographs in it now since I published it with Meredith, etc. But I also wanted to mention word count and page count of, for instance, um, a children's novel. Hello and welcome to the event, and thanks for coming. And you just joined Publish My Book, which is basically information for authors about publishing books. So, a children's book chapter and novel about 17,000 words. Adult novel is about 70,000 words, and the mystery could go up to 100,000 words. And let's see, children picture books for early learners are 8 to 16 pages illustrated, and the average children's picture book is 32 pages. Poetry on average 50 pages. Poetry anthologies could be 50,000 to 80,000 words because it's a collection of poetry. The average person sells about 14 books per month. And best-selling authors, to make it to the best-selling list, you need to be selling about 3 to 5,000 books a month. Now, Amazon bestsellers, that's a day, are selling about 1,100 copies of the book every day. And that's Wall Street, I'm sorry, that's 2,000, 5,000. Really moving a lot of books. And also, I wanted to mention that in 2004, about 28% less population, and then by 2007, about 19%. So, does anyone have any questions about anything we presented, and this entire presentation is in the chat. Is also available Community Library of Mississippi's page.
So you said they charge you for the historical pictures?
Oh yes, yes.
What makes it a historical picture? I mean, like, what's the difference between a regular picture and a historical picture?
Well, okay. For instance, the biography that I wrote on my uncle was about events that happened 1962. I guess that's about 58 years ago. So that's considered history. Of course, that's civil rights history. And so those photographs that photographers took during that time are very valuable. I mean, like even the Associated Press, you can go to their website, they have probably just thousands of historical photographs that they've taken over the years. And if you wanted to pay to use one for the cover of your book, um, they're not cheap. You have to pay for the use. And some people, that's the disadvantage of self-publishing is not knowing the publishing laws and rules. Because you see something on the internet doesn't mean that you have the right. And sometimes when people self-publish, they may break the rules. You can get sued for breaking the rules because you have copyright infringement laws. And that's, I tell everybody, I think it's very important before a person self-published that they go through user acquisition editor and another company so that they could learn, because the book industry is very unique and it has its own laws and rules and ways of marketing and things like that. And you have any other comments or concerns?
As a as a publisher, what's the hardest thing that you face in the industry to you then?
As a publisher, what's the hardest what?
What's the hardest obstacle, or what's the hardest thing that you have to overcome in the publishing industry? Like, was it any challenge?
Well, being a publisher and having 25 titles, it is always challenging marketing and promoting each title to the public sales. For instance, I could post a tweet or put out a promotion for all 25 titles, and some of the titles are going to sell more than other titles. I think that the biggest challenge is getting authors to realize that they themselves have to make a name for themselves. Take, for instance, John Grisham, the biggest seller in the world in terms of books. I once saw an interview of him when I was in Florida at getting ready to go to an event. And he said that when he did his first book, A Time to Kill, he went to every library in the state of Mississippi. Some days he would sell 2 books, some days he would sell 12. But he really put in the work to make a name for himself. Then he started going to Arkansas and other places. But it requires a lot of work to make a name for yourself, because when you become a first-time author, no one knows you. So you have to get out and make a name for yourself. And now you can't even go to the library. So basically now everyone is using Zoom and Facebook Live and YouTube Live and other video methods to present their works and books to readers. Because you see, we have about 19% of the population published, and we have 1.7 people who are self-published, and that doesn't account for the other. And of course, you have the big five, because when you get published with one of the big five, you can go to the Today Show, Good Morning America. But when you're using the smaller companies, you can go to your local TV. Even going to local is a smaller viewership than the Today Show or Good Morning America, which is national and international, much larger reach. So that's why making a name for oneself is so important. And anything else? Well, so what are some of the things that you yourself learned as a first-time author of a novella that you didn't know before you became an author, Malaysia?
Oh, so much. Going back to what you for real, going back to what you just said, I really didn't. I mean, you know that you have to put in work, but you really don't know how much you have to be consistent and persevere, because you really do have to make a name for yourself. I really didn't. I guess it didn't resonate with me how much work I had to put in. You know, you have to just put the work in to get fruit. You know, you have to plant the seed. And what other things that I found out? I really didn't know it had to be an APA format. I did learn that from the beginning. The industry is you gotta make you have to make a name for it. I didn't know that the industry was gonna be so, it's gonna be like a little hassle to get into the industry and put your work out there, and to get noticed and marketed, and you have to get your market group or your target group, and go hard for what you have for your work. I guess you really don't know before you. I mean, a lot of people like me who green. I guess you think you write a book and it's there, but it isn't. And I mean, I'm still a work in progress. Being confident in the work and putting my name out there, no matter what. But that's most of them. I didn't really realize that you have to still do it your own.
Yes, and also the pandemic came, and your book release date was compromised because you had to cancel your events. I had to cancel 4 events, and nothing was happening for several months. I mean, absolutely nothing.
Right.
So that's actually, Community Library of Mississippi goes virtual. This is the first event in that process. Of course, we went virtual for our book club because we used to meet at the Jackson Medical Mall. And for 3 months, we missed April, May, and June because we couldn't physically go and read, not even with social distancing. And then, of course,
right.
Hotspot. So virtual, we had to. So we're all now doing more virtual events and really learning. This is a new experience for some of us to do virtual events. We're doing our book festival virtual. You were there last year. We were at the mall, and now we're doing a virtual book festival. November the 28th, and that's when we get a chance to do what some of us take pride in doing, and that's teaching other people this field, teaching people how to write poetry, and allowing kids to get into spelling bee, because these are all intellectual uh, events, and that's authors are a part of intellectual entertainment as well. So all of that goes hand in hand, and yeah, so it's been a challenge. So have you thought about doing a virtual book release?
I have. I'm trying to come up with the best possible solution to operate this new norm of virtual. It's like I don't want to say that my book release was messed up and compromised because of the pandemic. But I do want to capitalize on it. You know, I'm trying to come up with some stuff that I can do to use it to my advantage. I am planning on doing something virtual, maybe a book. I really want to do a book trailer. You know, it's coming soon, like I don't. Because I know it was like I started a work and didn't get finished because of the pandemic. But but during that time, I had to do a lot of self-reflection on what I'm gonna do and how much work I'm gonna put towards myself, you know, and in my work. I already done published the book. Now I just need to get it out there and don't let the pandemic, hinder it.
Yes. Well, one of my great nieces, who is also a published author, read Lily Darling, and she, she wrote the comment, but the positive input that your character has is very important to her as a teenager. She's 14, and these stories are very important that people write, and it's also very important, as I said, to really introduce these works to the public. And now what we have uh, to introduce ourselves uh, virtually, and these are some of the events. Our last one is 5 for 20. We haven't put that one out there yet, but that's going to be a virtual event with only 20 authors, and they'll be presenting their books. Each one will have each author will have 5 minutes to present their work.
Do you
And
have any young adults author under your company? I mean, not young adults, but I mean like teenagers or children.
well, the only child that we published was my niece. We published her book Saving the Manatees, which she wrote when she was in I think second grade, when she was in Pensacola, Florida. She started saving the manatees, because at that time manatees were dying, and it had gotten on the endangered species list. And she wrote a book about that. And at the end of the book, there's you could do your sight words, and also practice writing your name in cursive. And a lot of people were using her book um, because during that time they had taken cursive writing out of a lot of school systems, but Jackson added it back in. I think I understand about 2 or 3 years ago, and now in the summer of the second grade, he is prepared to start writing in cursive because they learned it in the third grade. And so basically, that's the only child that we have. In our family, we have 3 generations of authors. My mother and father are and I'm an author and a publisher. My great niece is an author, and my niece is a published illustrator of 2 books. She draws real well. something that my mother invested in, her buying a lot of art. Um, she for her all of her life. She's drawn. And I read this article in Publishers Weekly that says at the end of July, print books sales started increasing, which is a lot of hope for people in our field because it was just dead, and now people are beginning to buy print books and ebook, and also the audio books. Our audio book sales are increasing for our company, Meredith Etc. And it was interesting because one of the audio books, Starkeisha Estrella, that book was originally published in print in 2014. And the audio book, I can't remember, I think it was 5 or 6 hours, and it sells for $19.95 compared to a novella we just did, William Tress's audio book, The New Populist Party. His audio book, I think, is an hour, a little over an hour, and it sells for $95. But that really showed the difference, how the print book, how long it would take to listen to the print book edition. Yeah, that was a pretty long time. So this presentation, did you get anything out of this presentation that will help you going forward as a first-time author? Did you get something out of it that will help you going forward as a first-time author, Malaysia?
Uh,
Did you get something out of the presentation published my book that will help you going forward as a first-time author?
yeah, yes, I did not know audio sales were. I was like, I never knew people really bought it. You know, I just thought they gave it as an option maybe for the blind, but now I know to put important. I mean, it's important for the audio aspect of the book as well, because I really didn't know that. I just thought it was for a small group of people. But now that I see that they having sales, it is important. I guess whoever read it too. I don't even know too much about the audio aspect of the book.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah,
And during the pandemic, I met um, people who do professional voiceovers. I didn't meet them first. I mean, online. Um, we were able to get some very professional voiceover artists to do 3 of our books during the pandemic. And so you would have to go to Audible and go through their list of uh, people who do voiceover and invite them to do your book. One of my children's books was done as well. The Sheeta, this is Mississippi State Capital, and that's a black character that created that teaches culture and history. And I had a professional to do the voiceover for that book, and I was like, wow, her voice, it it really made my words, because a professional voiceover um, can pitch their voice tone. Like if you hear people doing animation, you know, do a lot of emphasis. And it was very encouraging to have someone with that kind of professionalism book. Some of the professionals said that they were more interested in doing the smaller books like yours, like a novella or children's book, because they could do more rather than a book that's 300 pages, because it takes 4 or 5 hours to do the book. Last, because it was a pandemic, to get people who would do a book that size, because they had more time on their hands. So that was interesting that we were able to get some professionals to do the longer books that we published because of the pandemic. And also doing the marketing, we have been able to reach readers in other countries during the pandemic. You know, I had more time I was doing more advertising on online marketing. Even the picture dictionary has been read a lot by people in uh, Japan. But in Japan, it's required, uh, they are required to learn English at an early age. And also, we've had some of the other titles in the company, the 25 titles purchased by uh, other readers in other countries. And being in the textbook market, the textbook market, the sales didn't decline as bad because textbooks are actually more, more, more steady in terms of sales. Of course, we have Woman Preach. You know, he's from Reverend Lewis Blake Hawthorne is from your hometown, Lexington. He has two of our books that's in the textbook market: Woman Preach and Social Justice and Christianity. And William Trest's book, The New Populist Party, is in the textbook market as well because it's historic fiction. And the other title is James Meredith Williams, the America that created the biography that I wrote on my uncle. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I wanted to invite any of the other people who are here. I don't see their video, but I know they're here. If they would like to ask any questions about what we presented. Can you hear me, Brianna or Georgia?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have any questions about what we presented about publishing my book or the industry?
No, it was. I came in on in the middle of it, but I'm just so proud of you, and it's just good to hear you spread the knowledge. Just keep up.
Well, thank you.
Keep up the good work, and I'm always trying to do 10 things at once. You know, my phone crashed, so this is the first day I've had a phone, and I'm trying to get myself together. But yes, someday I'm going to publish my memoir. So that I'm proud of you. I'm glad I could tune in. I came to my computer and I just saw where I said, wow, is this today or Saturday? So,
What Saturday was the Learning Tree Book Club meeting. We read from 2 to 3:30. Malaysia, I must introduce you to Georgia Coran, because Georgia Coran is the president of Arts Classical Inc. And her operation is at the Jackson Medical Mall. And before I became a published author or poet, I used to go to her events. It was a space to read my poetry. I think I can remember me, my stepson and my cousin and several other people. She did an event at the university club downtown Jackson, and in the audience there was diverse people, and um, she had people who actually draw, people who write poetry, and people who talk about different subjects. So she created a space where I was growing and writing poetry. And I think that's what it's all about. Everybody needs a space so they can grow. So you can imagine.
Absolutely.
I became public for the first time 7 years ago. So I was in this Georgia venues probably 10 years or more ago, writing some of the poems that I now have uh, published in my book Odyssey, which is a collection of my writing. So thank you so much, Miss Georgia, for the opportunity to be in a venue that you had that allowed me to grow and to
It's
be able to present my poetry to audiences.
my absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, Miss Georgia.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Is that Miss Chelsea Smith?
I'm Alicia. I'm under a different.
You're
Uh-huh.
Alicia.
Now,
You're my,
Malaysia, I know you've at least seen Miss Georgia because she was at the Jackson Book Festival last year.
the
And Miss
radical?
Georgia,
The radical?
yes, at the medical mall.
Yeah,
Earlier this year.
Yeah, she was over the poetry contest there. Just a short afro. I'm sure you saw her though. And Malaysia,
She,
Miss Georgia, she's one of the authors, the last authors that the last two, we did two authors last year, you and Dr. Janice, second edition of her collection of her spoken word choir book, which is a collection of her.
it was wonderful. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah.
me too.
And so I wanted to tell everybody um, that our next event is next Thursday. It's populist politician William Preston. He's from the Alabama. And then and most of these events are during the lunch hour, 12:30 to 1:30. And you see that we also have one on the 15th, which is a Tuesday, on the 22nd, which is a Tuesday. That's juvenile offender reform, and we published two of her books. She's a journalist in Los Angeles, and also Richard Hurst. He's in Hollywood, California. We published his book, My Brother Bo, but his presentation is the art of manuscript writing. And then Lynette Stafford, she's a retired teacher and also a radio personality in Greenville, Mississippi. She's doing teacher family relations October the 13th. And then we have our monthly Learning Tree Book Club membership meeting. That's November the 7th. But also it's their first Saturday. Every first Saturday is I Learning Tree Book Club. I miss one. Next one is October 3rd. 30, we read together 1 hour and a half. And then we have the Jackson Book Festival is November 28th, which is a Saturday. We have a spelling bee for anybody in elementary school. And we have a poetry contest for all ages, November 28th. And Mary Harder, who is also retired teacher, and she owns a bookstore in Greenville, Mississippi. She's doing the history of book marketing. That's our last. She's our last speaker with our speaking series, and this is all a part of Community Library Mississippi goes virtual. And Community Library Mississippi is a non-profit, and we have several programs. One is the Book Toasters, the Jackson Book Festival, reading fairs, and the Learning Tree Book uh, Club. So I thank you all for participating in this event. We're also live on Facebook, Community Library Mississippi Facebook page. So this event will be stored there when we get through. And so basically, for anybody that's just now joining, I'm just going to try to do a little recap. This has been published my book seminar, introduce the audience to they call it the Big Five publishers: Engine, Hatchet, HarperCollins, Simon Schuster, Macmillan, and we discussed the difference between commercial publishers, mid-sized presses, they are also university small presses, and that's just a neat. If you have a manuscript and you're trying to publish your book, you can go to the author submission guidelines for companies. Some companies you have to have agents to even shop your manuscript to the publisher. And I think Simon and Schuster is one of the places where you have to have an agent. But they have a smaller imprints where you may not have to have an agent. I met several authors who use one of the imprints of Simon and Schuster to publish their book. I met one was a Zane writer. And also in 2003, in terms of self-publishing, there were only about 300,000 people self-publishing. And compare that moving forward to today, there are 1.6 million people who self-publish. And some of the advantages of using a commercial, mid-size, or small press is the editorial assistance. Because having the manuscript, because a manuscript is basically a draft. Having the manuscript edited and critiqued by a professional is very important in terms of the final product. And I just want to say, Malaysia, you used a small press and had an acquisition editor. What impact do you think that had on your manuscript?
What impact did it have on my web?
On your manuscript?
Excuse me.
For Lily Dollar.
It was so impactful because I mean, as a writer, you know how you write, but your advice was letting me know how I needed to write to be, to the proper way. And, it was two different things from what I'm used to, because you know how to write and you know your ideas, but transforming your ideas into a structure, a way that's presented the way it needed to be, because mine wasn't. I thought I knew how to write, as far as grammar and the tone, but it was different when I got into the market, when I started to publish my book. So having an acquisition editor, it's like I took what you gave me. Now I know going forth how to do, how to write certain things. But I needed it though, because without it, I wouldn't have made it.
And I think that that's anybody that's doing anything new to have professional advice beside you, working with you to help polish what you written is just a very, very important, and also giving you advice about presenting yourself in the market, your product, and how to promote it. And now everyone is learning um, virtual promotion. So that's where we are. Let's see. If you have a manuscript and you're trying to use a publishing company, whether it's commercial, mid-size, or small, a lot of places will ask you to do a book proposal. And this is just an overview of what a book proposal is. A book proposal really tells something about your manuscript. It's the average is about 500 words. It's not a lot. That could be a page and a half about what you've written. It tells your target audience. Your target audience is teenagers because Lily, what grade was Lily in, the character you created?
7.
7th grade. So that's considered a young adult market. And of course, you did a novella. And then you would do your a section about yourself. It could be 1 or 2 paragraphs. Then your competitive titles, the marketing and promotion, and basically the number one thing is when you get ready to publish, a manuscript is a draft, and that draft needs some rewrites. And it's always good to have acquisition editor to help with the process. And that's going to conclude this event. Thank you so much for your participation. And you'll be able to find this video and share it with other people on Facebook, Community Library of Mississippi page. And I hope that you'll be able to come to the next event as well. Okay, well, thanks everybody for
Thank you.
your participation. And you all have a wonderful day.
You too, Miss Meredith.
All right. Thanks. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, thanks.